All right, we'll kick it off with the LA Times. Kick it off with the LA Times. All right, guys. Well, if you're new to the live, my name is Randall. This is the McClures. We react, review, we make fun of, we laugh at stuff. Links are in the description if you want to help support. If you want to throw a 40-year-old dude with a beard $1 so we can keep making content at home, we would appreciate it. We definitely would. We definitely would. We're trying to make this a thing. If you don't like to donate dollars, you can always shop McClures.com, buy yourself something, buy your spouse a gift. If you're not a spouse, you don't have a spouse, you're slacking. Get on it so you can buy some gifts. But we're going to be checking out a story today. We're going to start with the LA Times. But we're going to get into this lab meat situation going on in California. Apparently, they're using, or they've approved, and it's happening, folks. It's happening in California. You're getting lab meat chicken. Lab meat chicken. From my understanding, the lab meat is grown with aborted fetal cells. You understand? They murder a baby. They take some cells. And they grow it into chicken. And then you eat it. And you're not a cannibal. Because they called it chicken. Okay? Okay. It's not demonic. They named it chicken. And yeah, and apparently they passed this while they were, distracting everybody with the submarine that they knew was blown up. They literally, before the first story came out, the Navy already knew that the sub had blown up. Imploded, not blown up. It imploded. Before it even started, folks. So day 1, they're missing. Day 2, we can't find them. Day 3, we're hearing knocking. Oh, the air's running out. Day 4. All bullshit, folks. All bullshit. So yeah, we definitely should dive into what else happened that week. What else happened that week? And this is one of them. This is one of the things. So the U.S. approves the first lab-grown meat chicken made by 2 California companies. It's not really a guess because I heard this from somewhere, but I do believe it to be true. But who do you think owns the 2 companies? If you had to just guess off the top of your head, who do you think owns both the 2 companies? Just take a guess. Just let me know in the comments who you think it is. Maybe they'll cover it. If not, we'll find out. We'll get into it. All right, so for the first time, U.S. regulators on Wednesday approved the sale of chicken made from animal cells, allowing 2 California companies to offer lab-grown meat to the nation's restaurant tables and eventually supermarket shelves. U.S. Agriculture Department gave the green light to Upside Foods and Good Meat, which has been racing to be the first in the nation to sell meat that doesn't come from slaughtered animals. What's now being referred to as cell-cultivated or cultured meat as it emerges from a laboratory and arrives on dinner plates. We have a winner, folks. Ding ding in the comments. Bill Gates is the proud owner of both Good Meat and Upside Foods. This is true. The move launches a new era of meat production aimed at eliminating harm to animals and drastically reducing the environmental effects of grazing, growing feed for animals, and animal waste. Because you know what's worse for the environment, folks? Is animals eating fucking grass and taking shits, people. There's nothing worse for the environment than animals doing what the animals are supposed to do in nature. It's really harmful, folks. Super harmful. The effects of grazing. Yeah, because grass-fed, herded, natural meat is definitely the problem. That's definitely the problem. We need to get rid of that. It's way too good for you. You're going to need to eat lab chicken, folks. We're going to need to get you some lab chicken immediately. Wow. Okay. So instead of all that land and all of that water that's used to feed all of these animals that are slaughtered, we can do it in a different way, said Joss Tetrick, co founder and chief executive of Eat Just, which operates Good Meat. So Good Meat is operated by Eat Just, which is operated by somebody else, which is owned by somebody else, which probably has Bill Gates' name on it. He doesn't like to be the direct owner of all the weird, creepy shit going on in the world. But he's definitely the owner of it, way up high. So the company has received approvals for the federal inspections required to sell meat and poultry in the U.S. The action came months after the Food and Drug Administration deemed that products from both companies are safe to eat. A manufacturing company, Biologics, which works with Good Meat, who was also cleared to make the product. You're going to buy a meat from a place called Biologics? Holy shit, people, who's going to buy this stuff? Cultivated meat is grown in steel tanks, ooh, appetizing, using cells that come from a living animal, a fertilized egg, or a special bank of stored cells. Let's highlight this special area here, folks, that they don't want you to talk about. A special bank of stored cells. This is where the actual meat comes from that they're going to serve. Because from my understanding, when they use animal fertilized egg cells, it doesn't work very well. It doesn't work very well. Because they're scientists, not God. But if they steal some God and they use aborted fetus cells, they are able to create in a lab consumable chicken. What they're calling chicken. And isn't it funny that the first meat to market is chicken? Which is literally how you describe every meat that doesn't taste like steak. It's either gamey, it tastes like chicken, or it's steak. It's either actually good and from a cow, it tastes like chicken, or it tastes gamey. These are the three options with meat. So, of course, the first meat to come out is going to be the all-encompassing chicken. All right. In Upside's case, it comes out in a large sheets that are then formed into shapes like chicken cutlets and sausages. Good Meat, which already sells cultivated meat in Singapore, the first country that allows it, turns masses of chicken cells into cutlets, nuggets, shredded meat, and setas? I don't know what a seta is. All right, but don't look for this novel meat in a grocery store anytime soon. Cultivating chicken is much more expensive than meat from farmed birds and cannot yet be produced on the scale of traditional meat. Thank goodness for that, said Ricardo San Martin, director of the Alternative Meat Lab at UC Berkeley. The company's plan to serve the new food first in exclusive restaurants. Upside has partnered with a San Francisco restaurant called Barcreen, while Good Meat dishes will be served at a Washington restaurant run by a chief and owner, Jose Andres. Company executives are quick to note that the products are meat. They're not vegetarian substitutes like the Impossible Burger or the offerings from Beyond Meat, which are made from plant proteins and other ingredients. Globally, more than 150 companies are focusing on meat from cells, not only chicken, but also pork, lamb, fish, and beef, which scientists say has the biggest impact on the environment. Upside, based in Berkeley, operates a 70,000 square foot building in nearby Emerville, and on a recent Tuesday, visitors entered a gleaming commercial kitchen where Chef Jess Weaver was sauteing a cultivated chicken fillet in a white wine butter sauce with tomato, capers, and green onions. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. I know that was supposed to sound good when they wrote it. But if you started off with sauteing cultivated chicken fillet, I get nauseous there, and then whatever you end it with is not going to help. All right, the finished chicken breast product was slightly paler than the grocery store version. Oh, God, picture it, folks. Otherwise, it looked, cooked, and smelled and tasted like any other pan fried poultry. The most common response we get is, "Oh, it tastes like chicken," said Amy Chin, Upside's chief operating officer. Back to the everything tastes like chicken argument we were at before. You know what I mean? Because everything tastes like chicken. Um, Good Meat, based in Alameda, has 100,000 square foot plant. All right, so we're up to almost 200,000 square feet of factory space designated to tricking people into eating lab shit, folks. So you can stay in your pod. So you can stay in your pod, eat your bugs and your lab meat, and be happy. All right, so Good Meat, based in Alameda, operates in a 100,000 square foot plant where Chief Jack Tyndall dished up a smoked chicken salad on Sunday on a sunny June afternoon. He followed it with a chicken thigh served on a bed of potato puree with a mushroom, a vegetable demi-glaze, and a tiny purple cauliflower florets. Oh, God, what a pretentious, shitty meal. The Good Meat chicken product will come pre-cooked, requiring only heating to use in a variety of dishes. All right, not only do they grow it themselves in their lab, in their steel containers, folks, they're going to cook it for you also. So all you have to do is just warm it. Is anybody feeling more appetized right now? Not sure if they are. I'm not sure if they are. So Chin acknowledged that many consumers are skeptical, even squeamish, about the thought of eating chicken grown from cells. In a recent poll by the Associated Press, NORC Center for Public Affairs Research, half of the U.S. adults said that they are unlikely to try meat grown using cells from animals. When asked to choose from a list of reasons for their reluctance, most who said they'd be unlikely to try it said that it just sounds weird. About half said they don't think it would be safe. So, when asked why, the most common response is, "Are you fucking kidding me? That sounds weird, dude. Weird." Oh, shit, people. Cultivated meat begins with cells. Upside experts take cells from live animals, choosing those most likely to taste good and reproduce quickly and consistently, forming high quality meat. Reproducing quickly and consistently. They're not able to do that with just animal cells, like from an animal, which is why they're using baby parts. Good meat products are created from a master cell bank formed from a commercially available chicken cell line. Once the cell lines are selected, they're combined with a broth-like mixture that includes the amino acids, fatty acids, sugars, salts, and vitamins, and other elements that cells need to grow. Okay, so I assume those are also all lab-created amino acids, fatty acids, fake sugars, fake salts. Okay, this is sounding super healthy, folks. Inside the tanks, called cultivators, that's not creepy, the cells grow, proliferating quickly. At upside, muscle and connective tissue cells grow together, forming a large sheet. After about 3 weeks, the sheets of poultry cells are removed from the tanks and then formed into cutlets, sausages, or other foods, and good meat cells grow into large masses, which are shaped into a range of meat products. Okay, so you guys can either choose from sheet processed chicken or clumpo chicken carved into the shape of your choice. So it's just like a big clumpy cellulose of chicken tissue grown in a fucking steel tube and they just carve it into a drumstick. Oh God. I gotta see the interviews with the people who are gonna eat this or who have eaten it. Oh my gosh, people. All right, both firms emphasize the initial production will be limited. The Emeryville factory can produce 50,000 pounds of cultivated meat products in a year, though the goal is to expand to 400,000 pounds per year. Upside executives said good meat executives wouldn't estimate a production goal. By comparison, the U.S. produces 50 billion pounds of chicken per year. It could take a few years before consumers see the products in more restaurants, and in 7 to 10 years before they hit the wider market, says Sebastian Bond, who specialized in cell-based foods at CRB, a Missouri firm that's designed and builds facilities for pharmaceutical, biotech, and food companies. All right, so here's the piece of shit building the facilities for the other pieces of shit to build the weird chicken meat they want to shove down your throat and force you to eat. So, by a show of ones and twos, ones for yeses, twos for nos, feel free to tap in. Who's eating chicken meat? One for yes, two for no. Are you eating chicken meat? Let me rephrase lab chicken meat. What's interesting though, I guess at that one part in the article, they did mention that it's a chicken pre-approved chicken cell line is one of the ingredients. Is that why they're able to call it chicken? Because they say it's a pre-approved chicken cell line. Who pre-approves the chicken cell line? Let's check that out. FDA process to approve lab meat. Let's see. We got CNN, New York Times, CBS, U.S. News, The Guardian, LiveScience.com. Okay. I don't know what LiveScience.com is. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. All right. First lab grown meat approved for sale. 2 U.S. companies, Upside Foods, Good Meat, which is Eat Just. Washington Post reported. All right, let's check this according to the USDA link. Here we go. All right, human food made with cultured animal cells. The ability to take a small number of cells from living animals and grow them in a controlled environment to create food is an emerging area of food science. Advancements in cell culture technology enable scientists to use animal cells obtained from livestock, poultry, or seafood to produce food products. There are currently no food products made from cultured animal cells in the U.S. market. However, many companies are developing such products. As these products come closer to entering the U.S. market, FSIS is closely coordinating with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to ensure that regulatory oversight is in place so that the food developers bring safe and properly labeled products to the market. In 2019, FSIS and FDA established a formal agreement on how we would use our regulatory tools to help ensure that foods comprising or containing cultured animal cells entered at the U.S. market are safe and properly labeled. This agreement laid out which parts of the process each agency would oversee and was the first step toward both developing the framework to support safe production of these foods and providing clarity to the industry on the requirements for producing, distributing, and selling these foods in the U.S. All right, well, let's get into it, folks. They held some public meetings to get better understanding. All right, so the regulators don't know what they're regulating. So they went to the people they're going to regulate and said, tell us about it. How should we regulate you? Okay, that makes sense. Long scientific history of long history of scientific advances in biology, biochemistry, and engineering have led to the innovations enabling the growth of animal cells outside the animal itself in a controlled environment for food. Process, while complex, can be broadly summarized in a few steps. Scientists typically start with a sample of cells from the tissue of an animal or fish. Do you notice a trend here? Anytime they're talking about these cells and the fact that they're animal cells, it's always typically, in some cases, sometimes, usually, maybe, they're never actually just say that it is cells. Scientists, let's see, where was I? The process that typically does not permanently harm or kill the animal. So they're, you know, taking an injection or something from them. Some cells from the sample that they take from the animal are selected, screened, and grown to make a bank of cells to store for later use. To make food, a small number of cells are taken from the cell bank, placed in a tightly controlled and monitored environment, a very large sealed vessel that supports growth and cellular multiplication by supplying appropriate nutrients and other factors. After the cells have multiplied many times over into billions or trillions of cells, additional factors, protein growth factors, new surfaces for cell attachment, additional nutrients are added to the controlled environment to enable the cells to differentiate into various cell types and consume characteristics of muscle, fat, and connective tissue cells. Once the cells have differentiated into the desired type, the cellular material can be harvested from the controlled environment and prepared using a conventional food processing and packaging methods. All right, I don't know who read this and is appetized by it. Regulatory oversight of foods comprised of or containing cultured animal cells. So on March 7th of 2019, they established a joint regulatory framework for cultured cells. So this is Trump's FDA at the time, which, I mean, it wasn't his FDA, obviously. He didn't really control any of the branches of government because they were actively trying to stop everything he was doing the entire time. I'm trying to skim through this. I don't want to read this whole thing. This is what the government does, so that way people don't read it, is they repeat themselves about 100 times. All right, so as with traditionally produced meat or poultry products, there's the law or whatever, law code. Small amounts of cell, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Small amounts of cell cultured products. Wait. 590-960 allows small amounts of cell cultured products to be imported into the U.S. without meeting FSIS requirements for specific non-commercial purposes, such as for personal use, display, laboratory examination, research, and evaluating testing. Our procedures on the import of such projects are located here. Importation of products for other than commercial purposes. Once imported. All right. Products for other than commercial. Well, isn't commercial purpose? Okay, that doesn't make sense. All right. So, as with traditionally produced meat or poultry products, those are the laws according to that. And 590 and 960, which is probably the add on law, allows small amounts of cell cultured products to be imported into the U.S. without meeting FIS requirements for specific non commercial purposes. That's what it says, right? Non commercial purposes, such as personal use, display, laboratory examination, research, or evaluative testing. Our procedures on the import of such products are located here. Importation of products for other than commercial purposes. Once imported, such products are subject to the same procedures as those produced domestically. See experimental and sample product policy. I don't understand. So they say they're allowed to be imported without following the regulation, but once they're imported, they have to follow the regulation? How does that, what? Like all FDA regulated food, imports of food comprising of containing cultured fish or seafood cells must meet the same legal requirements as domestically produced foods, including requirements related to the absence of unapproved food additives, color additives, or other substances that may alterate? Is that supposed to be alterate the food? Imported foods comprising or containing cultured fish or seafood cells must meet specific. All right, so this is just fish or seafood. Why did we switch over to fish or seafood? This is how these companies and these biotech firms bypass and obfuscate all these regulations. Because they're like, well, you guys only have a regulation about fish or this. We're doing chicken or this. So they come out with a regulation on chicken this. Oh, we're not doing chicken. We're doing this. They come out with a regulation on that. Oh, well, now we're doing this. I don't know. I don't know. The whole thing is definitely fishy, folks. The whole thing is definitely fishy. The whole thing is definitely fishy. But I want to find an article. All right. Fetal cells used in lab meat. That is not how you spell fetal. I know, people. I know. We've already gone over this. I'm slightly retarded. Okay? All right. All right, motherjones.com. I don't know what motherjones.com is. Does anybody know what they are? But they got an article written by Tom Philpott, The Bloody Secret Behind Lab-Grown Meat. Fight disinformation. Sign up for the free Mother Jones daily newsletter. That's not a promotion from my channel. I don't even know these folks. All right, flesh grown in massive tanks instead of in the bodies of sentient animals offers the promise of having our steak and eating it guilt-free too. No vast amounts of water, polluting chemicals to grow feed crops, no low paid, often injured slaughterhouse workers, no climate warming gases from cow burps or manure lagoons, and no billions of animals slaughtered each year to satisfy our carnivory. All right. Once a staple only of science fiction, the stuff is poised to land on your dinner. All right, my headphones just died, so good thing we're not listening to anything. But let me get them plugged in so they can charge. All right, there we go. The stuff is poised to land on your dinner plate this year, at least according to boosters of the cultivated meat industry. To use its preferred name, cultivated meat industry. In Singapore, the only nation to approve lab meat for sale, you can already go to the JW Marriott South Beach Hotel and order steamed chicken dumplings made with real meat without slaughter in the form of chicken cell grown by a U.S. based company called Eat Just, and other cell meat startups vow to bring product to market in 2022, pending regulatory approval, which they just got in 2023. Several obstacles hold back a new era of widely available animal-free burgers, nuggets, and carnitas. The biggest involves something much less appetizing than chicken dumplings: the blood of unborn cow fetuses extracted from their mothers after slaughter. The use of fetal bovine serum in labs isn't new. Scientists have had the ability to biopsy animal cells and keep them alive outside the body since the 1950s. These test tube cells need food to flourish, and researchers found that fetal bovine serum provided that special sauce, the right combination of hormones to make cells hum. In the 1980s, FBS technology gave rise to a tissue engineering, growing cells in vitro to replace small amounts of damaged or diseased tissue in people. Extending the same techniques into a new realm, today's cell-based meat companies have relied largely on FBS to develop their products. But a substance that works great for medical purposes, it is also widely used in vaccine development, creates two huge problems for an industry seeking to mass-produce slaughter-free meat. The first is expense. FBS sells for upward of $1,000 per liter, a major reason why, to break even on expenses, companies would have to sell their cultured meat for about $200,000 per pound. Holy cow. 2020 analysis from the University of California, Davis researchers found. That's why companies like the one conducting product demos in Singapore aren't breaking even, they're losing money. But how can they lose money and stay in business, you ask? Well, of course, because Bill Gates owns them. And he's not doing it to make money, folks. The other big problem is optics. You can't make your product as slaughter-free, let alone vegan, when you used a slaughterhouse byproduct to grow it. Although Eat Just does just that with its Singapore chicken, which is made with a very low level of bovine serum. Okay, low level, still a level, bro. Still a level. As a result, cultivated meat companies are scrambling to find FSB substitutes. Such a serum-free growth medium exists, reports the Good Food Institute, a think tank that supports conventional meat replacement. Trouble is, it's currently costs near $400 per liter, still way too high to be commercially competitive. A whole new supply chain would need to form, provide a cheap serum-free growth media to lab meat companies. A synthetic biologist who serves as a creative director of Ginkgo Bioworks, a biotech firm, and a lot of innovation in the biological manufacturing space will need to happen to make this possible. All of which means there is some fine print on industry claims that lab meat will be on the market within the year. Even boosters don't expect to see price competitive culture meat until 2030. While other analysts conclude that the FBS replacement problems, such as other gaping challenges, like perfecting machines that can grow cells at industrial scale, means that the stuff will likely never be economical. So don't hold your breath. If lab meat startup execs are lucky, however, funders will be patient. In 2020 and the first half of 21, investors poured more than $600 million into the space. Celebrity moguls Bill Gates, Richard Branson, Kimball Musk, what is that one? His ex-wives? Sergey Brin, Peter Thiel, and John Mackey have all pitched in. I don't know. There's a few names on there that ring some bells. There's a few names in there that ring some bells that we don't like. And isn't Peter Thiel the JP Morgan guy who was letting Epstein launder money for his pedophile ring? That's the other thing that happened last week while you guys were distracted by the submarine. is JP Morgan settled for $290 million that they're going to pay to the Epstein victims, 30% to the lawyers. 70% of it goes to the victims. $290 million settlement because they help facilitate his sex trafficking. And that's it. 290 million, push it under the rug. Do you know how much money they made off of this guy? Like, you just asked for a portion of the profits back. How is that? Yeah, that's going to deter banks. It's going to make them care. Crazy. Crazy. And the gusher continues in February. A startup, I would assume, called Wild Type, intent on creating cell-based salmon, announced a $100 million infusion from investors including Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert Downey Jr. Maybe such deep-pocketed friends will float the industry long enough to work out the problems posed by replacing fetal bovine serum. Do you know what the replacement is, right, folks? It's what I've been talking about the whole time. I haven't found an article on it yet. This is what I've been hearing, though, in the conspiracy theory realm of internet news, which is where most real news seems to happen these days. We just don't find out about it from the mainstream till a few years later. But this fetal bovine serum replacement is actual fetal serum. In the meantime, the very real ecological and social catastrophes created by the mass production of livestock fester, and slaughter-free chicken specials in Singapore aren't up to the task of slowing them down. All right, so Mother Jones is clearly a lefty lunatic. Based on the phrasing of how they're super pro-meat or they're anti-cow. How can you be anti-cow? Have these people never eaten a fucking properly cooked T-bone? Or a prime rib? A nice fucking rare, medium rare prime rib? Have you never eaten one of these? Where it's still pink even on the outside? You can cut it with a fork. It just fucking dissolves in your mouth. What is wrong with these people? Go eat some meat, people. You need some meat in your life, people. You need some grass-fed, real cow meat in your life. Okay? Go get you some meat. Immediately. And if I see you online posting about how you love lab-grown meat, you're proud of lab-grown meat, I'm going to ridicule and make fun of you. We're going to make videos about it. Matter of fact, let's see if there's any videos about lab meat right now. This is verifying Johnson & Johnson used aborted fetal cells in their jabby jab. So if you got the old Johnson & Johnson, you've been injected with human fetus cells, bro. If that's not fucking creepy, I don't know what is. I don't know what is, folks. All right, Amik sent me another link. Says check him out. He's dropping an album in 8 days, and he's also down to do a live interview. Ooh, nice. Hopefully, we'll do a live interview either this Friday or Saturday with Diverse the Prodigy. He hit me up. He was available yesterday, which actually would have worked, but it didn't. It didn't. I didn't get my shit together to stream yesterday or Monday. But we're back on it today. We're trying to do a much longer stream. We're trying to keep things going. My mom... Oh, dropping stuff. All right. Somebody brought me some highly processed fast food that I don't typically like to eat. We're going to eat chicken and rice tonight, folks. Instead, we're looking at McDonald's. which is almost as disgusting as chicken lab-grown meat. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, that's weird. That's weird. But feel free, let me know if you're going to be eating lab-grown chicken meat. Um, I'm curious. I'm curious how many of you are out there who don't care. Who don't care. And do people really think it's a problem that we eat animals? You know what I mean? Like, why is it a problem that humans eat animals when everything eats animals? Well, I guess technically a lot of the animals that we eat don't eat other animals, huh? Is that their point? That we should bypass the meat and just eat the veggies that the meat is eating? I don't know. I guess they didn't watch The Lion King. They don't know about the circle of life or any of that shit. But we need the chicken to eat, or we need the cow to eat the grass because the cow's stomach can actually digest and absorb the vitamins from the grass, which our bodies can't. And then it goes into their meat. And then our bodies can absorb the meat and the vitamins contained therein that they got from the grass, which is why you should be eating grass-fed animals, not corn-fed cows. Because if you're eating corn-fed cows, then you're not really getting the nutrients either, because corn doesn't have any nutrients, especially since all the corn is fake. It's all fake. When I first found out that corn used to be purple, it's like, what the? What do you mean it was purple? Yeah, folks, it used to be purple.